Hello everybody, Prepper003 here today, and today I want to discuss another militia concept video, and this one is going to be the gunner, or quote-unquote machine gunner, if you will, for the militia. Now, I'm going to try to hit this at aspect from the purpose of use, then equipment, then into training for you guys, that way to keep a little bit more organized for you. Now, the purpose of use for a machine gunner inside of the militia is somebody that's going to have extra ammunition, and he's going to be carrying it. He's going to be able to lay down more suppressive fire for you guys, and also be able to lay down covering fire, suppressive fire, and different types of fire like traversing fire and everything like that. But then there comes immediately into the legality of the machine gun. Now, not everybody lives in a state where machine guns are legal. First off, Wisconsin, for the most part, machine guns are not legal for the standard citizens. Now, there might be some states like Texas where machine guns are legal. So it comes down to what state you live in if you're able to get a fully automatic machine gun. Now, then there goes into the overall cost of it. Do you have the tens of thousands of dollars to buy a M60 or legal fully automatic M249 or 240, what have you? Do you have all the paperwork, all the legalities to go through that? And on top of that, do you have the teammates to employ that? And for a small unit of 4 to 5 guys, carrying around something like this right here might not be the best option, especially if you're trying to stay more low profile on you. This might not be the best thing to keep carrying around, because just like carrying around a very long precision rifle or going and carrying around a huge comm unit on your back, it can make you a target and it can make your unit a target. And depending on the situation, what type of SHF scenario we're in, or what have you, there's a lot of variables that go into it. It can make you a target and it can make your unit a target. Maybe 4 guys walking down the road with rifles is the normal, because like we've seen over in the Middle East, like we've seen in Africa, and now even in places like Ukraine, a group of guys carrying around rifles isn't sometimes that unnormal. Like, just because if things go into chaos, having a rifle for your family or your area might be beneficiary to you walking around without one. So it just comes down to the scenario that you're in and what's going on. But sometimes carrying something like this might not be the best option, and especially when it comes into the weight aspect of it too. This is a lot of weight over a basic AR-15. This one right here, as it sits, weighs just around at about 20 pounds when you count into the optic, the different stock, and the ammunition. And your basic AR-15 loaded, depending on what all you throw on, decide for how tactical you want to be, it can weigh anywhere from 8 pounds, depending on how lightweight of an AR you got, to around 12 pounds. And that's still an 8-round difference from the 249S that I have sitting right here on the table. Now maybe you might want to go with something a little bit more low profile like this. And this right here is going to get into a little bit later on into equipment, about different options that you have for a gunner to carry. But maybe carrying a basic modified AR-15 is a little bit easier for you, and especially more affordable to you, than carrying around the 249 or an RPK or RPD or semi-automatic 240, what have you. There's a lot of different belt fed options out there on the market. So that's just a little bit of a touch on it, on the purpose of use. It does increase the weight. It does slow down the mobility of your actual team. Now, depending on how fit you are, and right now, I'm not the most prime example of fitness. Right now, I'll tell you, I'm not Ted Kennedy. I'm not climbing mountains or anything. I'm pretty much just working in a gun store and working security. So I'm not sitting here. I try to get to the gym as much as I can, but I'm not the prime example of the typical alpha male sitting here benching 400 or something like that. So right now, I'm still working on my fitness, but not everybody, especially the guy with the beer gut and barely able to walk up the stairs without getting winded, you're not going to want that guy just saying, okay, here, you're going to carry this, and you're going to carry the 5, 8, 1,000 extra rounds you are with it. So you have to think into the guy who's the most fit for the job and who's going to be able to accomplish that. And it's not just you carrying it from the gun range to your car. You're going to have to carry this for miles at a time. And trust me, carrying something like this right here for miles at a time definitely does wear on you, especially if you're walking through snow. Trust me, when you're walking through snow and it's up past your knees with this, an assault pack and a chest rig with over 500 extra rounds of ammo, and right now I try to keep it around 600, being honest with you, for an average loadout, but it definitely wears on you after a while, especially the thighs. The thighs definitely get heated up after that, especially when you're starting to go a little bit uphill. But going back to the overall the weight of it and the amount of exercise, you're going to want somebody that's going to be at least moderate in shape, maybe a little bit more in shape than moderately, just being honest with you, because you're going to be the guy that's going to be responsible for laying down that suppressive fire, laying down accurate suppressive fire, and being able to lay down covering fire, and maybe even identifying targets with your covering fire, depending on what type of optic you have, to help identify targets while they're moving if you see them, and also be able to laying down different types of covering fire as well. And I'm not going to get too much into the different types of covering fire. There's a lot of different videos out there already, especially when it comes down to with a machine gun here. Just because we don't have, for the most part, we don't have fully automatic machine guns, so we're not going to be able to accurately lay down that suppressive fire like traversing fire or surging fire, direct fire, that kind of thing. You're going to be stuck to stationary direct fire, being able to transition yourself, then laying down more direct fire, being able to swing while firing. There's going to be, you can do it, but it's not the easiest thing, especially dealing with the trigger pull on some of the, like the RPK, the 249S here. Now, if you have a lighter trigger on an AR and you have a little bit lighter cant to yourself and everything, depending on what position you have, you can lay down traversing fire, but it's, like I said again, it's not the easiest of thing, and it's not something that's going to be easily done, especially with a semi-auto, because being honest here, most of us don't have the machine guns, so we are going to be stuck with semi-automatic fire, which does kind of hamper us greatly when it comes to the machine gunner aspect, because machine gun is pretty much one of the aspects that you want to have, but we're stuck with pretty much gunner because we're just carrying the extra ammunition to lay down more fire than your basic rifleman. So now we're going to get on to the equipment aspect of this. Now, when it comes to equipment, there's a different way of carrying it. Now, you can carry a whole bunch of magazines on your chest trigger plate carrier, but then that's going to add on to weight and profile on your chest trigger plate carrier. You're going to be two magazines thick, depending on how crazy you want to get, sometimes 4 magazines thick, but good luck getting anywhere near prone with that. So you might be stuck with carrying, like I have here, which is 3 or 4, depending on what you're going to have set up. I want to try to have an extra radio on me because sometimes we don't have all the extra guys. So I like to have the option of mounting a radio here, and then I'll have 2 100-round nutsacks here on the sides for my 249S, and then I'll have either 1 magazine in each pouch or 2, depending on just how much ammunition I might need for my mission, quote-unquote mission, if you want to say it. But that's pretty much how I keep it, and then I'll just have a basic IFAK here, and that's just, well, not IFAK, admin pouch right here. I try to keep my IFAK to the IFAK that I have here on the back of my belt, and that's pretty much if you want to know, it's the high threat concealment. Very good IFAK. But then I'll just keep my admin pouch with the bare essentials, just pretty much a small map of my AO, a multi-tool, and 1 glow stick, and my flashlight that I have mounted here onto the side. So I've just been trying to keep this as minimalistic as possible and maximizing as much as I can for ammunition. But for the most part, it's 3 to 4 AR-15 magazines, and then 200 rounds of 249 belted ammunition in the nutsacks that I have keep here on the sides. So that's pretty much the standard loadout that I have here, and the rest of it I try to carry in my assault pack, which I normally would throw in another nutsack of 100 rounds. Then I'll have a hard case here for the 249, and then I'll just have the other essentials you would have here in the assault pack for like pretty much a 24-hour operation: an MRE, hydro, pouch, and a scarf. That's it. And then I'll have a little bit of other stuff up here up top, and then I have 2 med trays here on the back just in case. So that's pretty much what I keep in my assault pack, just trying to keep that short and out of the way. But there's, like I said, there's 2 different ways of carrying it. You can keep your chest rig or plate carrier, bare essentials, which maybe not even your 249 pouches on the side. You might have a IFAK and then some AR-15 magazines, and then keep the rest of your ammunition, your drums, your belted ammunition, and your assault pack, and reload directly from your assault pack. Now, I found that reloading from the pouches on the side is just a hair faster than reloading from the assault pack, because you don't have to pick up the assault pack afterwards and remount it, so you can be a little bit more mobile within bounding and reloading and sending ammunition and munition and covering fire for your guys than you would taking your assault pack off, reloading from the assault pack, then throwing it back on. Now, I know it comes down to doctrine and what you want to say. I kind of do a little bit of both, being honest with you, on the reloads, but from what I found, it depending on what your training is and what you guys do, it depends on what you want to do. I'm not going to get too much into that. If you disagree, just put down the comments on what you guys do for your Army or Marine history. I know it kind of, each has their own way of doing it. And I'm just going from my experience and what I've done. So, kind of just cutting back to the equipment aspect of it, you just want to kind of carry anywhere from an extra, because your normal loadout for the most part is going to be anywhere from 150 to 210 rounds of ammunition. So at most you want to try to carry at least double that, maybe triple that. Because like I said, you're going to be sending a lot more fire and a lot more rate of fire, depending on burst, stream fire, cyclic rate, which most of us can't get up to anywhere near cyclic rate. But back to that, you're going to have to be sending a lot more fire downrange than you would with the basic AR-15 loadout, which may be 4, 5, 6 magazines, 7, depending on what you want to have. So that's pretty much what you're stuck with. So equipment-wise, is kind of assault pack, chest rig, and there what have you. Now you want it to cut, and this does cut into the mobility and you being able to go pro and you being able to move with your team. So just make sure you know that your team has to rely on your mobility, lack of mobility I should say, as much as you have to rely on them. So just be aware that all that extra ammunition does add on to weight, so you have to be able to carry that weight. And now that goes into the training aspect of the video. Now, there's different ways of doing this. Pretty much what I've done is I've worked on getting my burst fire down as much as I can, and that goes pretty much when you're onto the rifle. Give me a burst. 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 And pretty much putting burst fire down onto areas of cover, likely areas of cover, or in the general direction, depending on how far away they are, where the enemy is located, what type of cover, concealment they have. So and that's just one of the ways of it. Then there's pretty much stream fire, which is where you're firing just as much as you can into that direction of the enemy, depending on if you know where the enemy is, you know their location, or you're just trying to get them to be pinned down so your guys can get situated and start laying down accurate fire on them as you're laying covering fire and suppressive fire. So then there comes into the physical aspect of it, and I'm touching back on this again because it's a huge one, especially with the extra weight. You're going to want to at least once a month or so get out there with your rifle and carry this I almost said that. Carry this beast and get experience with actually having to carry this with your loadout, having to experience carrying this with a full loadout and having to fight with it. Now, it's not the easiest thing, especially being a semi-auto, to get out there, especially with the extra cost of ammunition, to lay down thousands of rounds in a weekend or in a month. So you might only be able to get out with 200-300 rounds of ammunition at a time and train with it. So make the best of what you can, especially if you're going to be the designated gunner in your group. Be sure that you're trained with him, you're up to speed on the rifle, know all of its functions, because even me, I've had issues where I've screwed up in the operating of it, where I've sometimes put the brass facing upwards, then facing down towards the grass. It's all part of the learning process, so you have to kind of keep learning, learn from your mistakes, and then just adapt from that. And keep going on and keep operating it, and then just slowly work your way to mastering the rifle, mastering what you can with the optic that you have. If you want to go with irons, then that's perfect. The irons almost never break on you. But just make sure that you're physically capable of using your rifle and using the equipment that you have. Because trust me, from experience here, carrying the 800 rounds of ammunition on you, and then walking a couple of miles with walking a couple of miles through some knee-high snow. That's not the easiest freaking thing to do. It does wear on you, especially on the thighs. Man, do those upper thighs start to burn. But yeah, it's not the easiest thing to do, and you need to be capable. Right now, I'm not the most fit guy that you find out on the gym floor working out, benching 460, whatever you have. I'm pretty much kind of moderate, if you will, with my build. I've slowly been working on cutting down my weight and building up muscle, but then again, it's like I said, I'll say it again just because I want to try to force this into you guys. Carrying all that extra ammunition on you is not the easiest thing to do. And just again, you have to be able to keep up with your guys, because you don't want to... Carrying this right here might not be as beneficial to your group as being mobile. Because with that whole thought process of working in a resistance, you guys need to be able to shoot and scoot really quickly, because you're not going to be able to stand and do a conventional armed conflict with a full platoon of trained soldiers fighting against you. They're going to be able to overpower you guys with aircraft, with overwhelming superior firepower, especially when it comes into the aspect of indirect fire with mortars or with HE. You're going to be pretty much screwed in that aspect. So if you've ever seen any type of the aerial attacks that they've done on the Taliban, you'll understand just how much the United States military, just the United States military, can decimate a mountainside with just a single airstrike. So think about that into I'm just going to use Wisconsin for example, the farming lands of Wisconsin, that nice open kind of rolling hills and everything. They'd be able to decimate an entire area with just a couple of pounds of ordnance. So just have that thought in your mind. Being able to have that higher mobility than the extra firepower might be something that you might want to be more worried about. And this is kind of touching back in the purpose of use, but it's a little bit important to include in the video that being able to hit and then move and evac the area and blend in. That's why maybe not having all the camouflage gear and everything, maybe just carrying some blue jeans and a basic t-shirt, maybe a throwover shirt or coat depending on the weather of your area and time of the year might be something beneficial than going all tactical. So maybe having a couple magazines on you or in your pocket or what have you, and your rifle, maybe something a little bit more beneficiary to you, especially in a small group, a 4-5 man group, than carrying a full-on rifle. And the rifles are kind of your RPK 249S here, or a AR-15 with modifications to it, like your slide fires, which are being looked at banning, your extra magazines, your heavier profile barrel. So just some of the options they have for you there, and what you're stuck with pretty much for the civilian market. Now, I'm just going to kind of touch just at the last end of the video here onto the different types of rifles that you can get. There's the RPK, which in my opinion is probably going to be the best option for you guys, especially if you guys are running the AKM variant rifles. You have magazine compatibility, you have low cost of the rifle, and you also have the almost low cost of the drums, especially when you come into the aspect of the cost of your drums for your AR-15. They're a little bit more on average than your drums for your AK. You can pick up an AK drum for about $70, as for a drum for your AR-15 is going to cost you on average $90+. So that's a drum that you can buy and about 100 rounds of ammunition for your AK. So you filled up the drum and an extra mag for the cost of one drum for your AR-15. So RPK, especially with the heavy hit 30 caliber, your 7.62x39 is going to be pretty much one of the best options. Then you get on to a modified AR-15 like you have right here, and you're going to be stuck with pretty much maybe a light and trigger, drums, bipod, and a heavier profile barrel. And the reason you want a heavier profile barrel with that is because sending all those rounds downrange at a quick pace, you're going to be heating up that barrel very quickly. And you might have to grab that barrel, and, well, not grab the barrel, grab the handguard and get up and have to bound quickly, get down, and then start sending more fire downrange. And depending on what your setup is, you can get that rifle pretty hot real quick, especially if you're running a pencil barrel. That's you can you can get those barrels really hot real quick, which is another reason to have gloves on, especially if you're going to be the gunner of your group. So, because the cost of an RPK for a setup like this right here is going to be much different. You can buy pretty much 3 RPKs and a crate of drums for the cost of the 249S here. Now, the reason that I ran the 249S is because I wanted to have one. Just that. Plus, I've always wanted a belt-fed rifle, so I got the 249S. Took a few months of saving up, but she was well worth it. She's worked fine for me. There's been a couple of hiccups here and there with it, but that's going to be for another whole review just on the rifle itself. But the next option that I'm going to say is probably going to be, like you said, your AR-15 that's been modified. Then there's going to be the belt-fed version of your AKM variant rifles, which is going to be the RPD. I've heard that there's a kind of a mixed review there for the overall reliability aspect. Then if you want to start spending more, there's the, I'm not sure the exact, I'll leave it down the link below, but it's the Armalite rifle, or not Armalite, the Fight Light, I think they changed their company name to. It used to be Ares Armament. They're another good option that you can go with. They're pretty much a belt-fed upper that you can get for the rifle. That's going to be pretty much a 249 upper that you can put, well, not a 249 upper, but it functions similarly to it for your AR-15. Now, I don't have any experience with that per se. I just looked at the reviews on some of the videos, but that's another option. But now you're jumping into the $4,000 for $350 to $4,000 worth of cost. Then there's the 249S, and then on up, you pretty much get into the actual machine gun market for overall costs. So those are just going to be the options that you have for you. Like I said, my money is probably going to be on for your average militiaman or your average patriot. RPK is probably the best way to go for you, especially in the financial aspect of it and the training aspect of it. So I really appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions or if you have any opinions that you want to put, please put them down in the comments below. I really appreciate it. I love reading you guys' comments and getting different opinions, especially on the training aspect of it, because I'm just a civilian. I've just been training in the militia with the guys that I train with. I have a few veterans in the group, but they're not always able to get out and get into the training with us because of their jobs and what they're doing at the time. So I really appreciate what you guys have been putting in the comments. I really appreciate what I've learned from you guys and what you guys have put out there for us. So if you like the video, feel free to like it. So thanks for watching,